He thought everything began at the altar, that real life, real purpose, real growth would only start after he found a wife. But no one told him the truth. Being single isn't a pause. It's the beginning. Singlehood isn't emptiness. It's freedom. It's clarity. It's power on your terms. If you've ever felt more alive, more focused, more free alone, stay right here. Because today, we're unpacking the hidden benefits of being single, benefits you might not even know you already have. 1. Breaking the myth. Life doesn't start with marriage. When he was younger, he believed it completely. Marriage was the milestone that would unlock everything. Career, confidence, purpose all seemed to depend on finding the one. Family, media, even friends reinforced this message, that a man's life begins when he stands at the altar. But experience taught him something else, a harder, quieter truth. Marriage isn't a starting line. It's not the only path to meaning. It's not a requirement for growth. For single men today, life isn't waiting to begin. It's already happening right now, without needing anyone else's validation, without waiting for a partner's approval, without postponing goals until the right relationship. You can develop now. You can succeed now. You can become who you're meant to be now. The myth says that happiness comes later, after vows, after rings, after promises, but reality offers something far more immediate: self-ownership, freedom to act today, freedom to build today, freedom to rise today. And this shift in perspective isn't bitter or cynical, it's empowering. The man who breaks this myth reclaims his time, his focus, his energy. He no longer waits for permission to live fully. Because life doesn't start with marriage, it begins with awareness. And awareness begins right now. 2. The gift of self-definition. When a man lives alone, without a partner shaping his routines, without children shaping his schedule, a rare opportunity appears, the space to define himself. In that quiet, a man can ask the questions that matter most. Who am I really? What do I value when no one else is watching? What kind of life would I choose if no one's expectations mattered but my own? Marriage often pulls a man into roles: provider, protector, partner. These are honorable roles, but they can easily overshadow individuality. The married man may find his identity slowly dissolving into we. His goals become joint goals. His time becomes shared time. His dreams are shaped around what the relationship can accommodate. But singlehood offers something different. Time to ask not, who do we need me to be, but who am I at my core? This isn't about isolation. It's about authenticity. When a man defines himself on his terms, in his own time, he discovers something many people never find: an unshakable sense of self. And that self-definition is the foundation for everything that follows: true confidence, purposeful action, lasting fulfillment. Being single grants men the freedom to answer these questions honestly, fully, without rush. It's not about rejecting relationships. It's about preparing to enter them from a place of wholeness. 3. Silence as a superpower. Marriage, no matter how loving, comes with noise. Negotiations about dinner plans, discussions about bills, compromises about holidays, schedules, routines. Noise isn't bad, but it's constant. Singlehood is silence. And in that silence, something powerful happens. Without the hum of daily negotiations, a man can sit quietly and reflect. He can listen not to anyone else's requests but to his own thoughts, his own fears, his own hopes. This quiet isn't emptiness. It's space. Space for healing. Space for review. Space for envisioning what comes next. Most people fear silence. They turn up the television, scroll endlessly, chase distractions. But a single man who learns to embrace silence discovers it's not an absence, it's a presence. In silence, old wounds reveal themselves, so they can be healed. In silence, creativity returns, because there's finally room for it. In silence, direction becomes clearer, because competing voices have faded away. The power of silence is subtle, but it's immense. And for the man who sits quietly without shame, without urgency, that silence becomes a superpower. Because in that stillness, he doesn't just hear himself more clearly, he finally hears life. 4. The freedom to recalibrate. Singlehood offers something few people appreciate: the freedom to stop, reflect, and recalibrate without disruption. After divorce, many men are forced to reassess who they are. But you don't have to wait for loss or heartbreak to ask deep questions. When you're single, you own your time, your thoughts, your choices. You can pause long enough to examine your beliefs. What matters to you really? What do you value? Beyond what culture tells you? Where have you been headed? And is that truly where you want to go? Married life, no matter how loving, often demands your energy for your partner's needs, for the family's priorities, for the shared household. But single life gives you the rare ability to recalibrate on your own terms, to pivot, to change careers, to relocate, to redesign your life's path without needing negotiation. This isn't about selfishness. It's about self-awareness. The freedom to recalibrate means freedom to evolve. Without permission, without apology. That's a profound hidden benefit many men don't realize until it's gone. 5. Belief as a foundation for power. Belief shapes reality. Not external reality, but your experience of it. And when you're single, you have a rare opportunity. You get to build belief systems intentionally, without constant outside influence. What you believe about yourself dictates what you see, how you act, whether you persevere or give up. When you believe deeply that you're worthy, capable, resilient, you behave accordingly. You take risks. You recover from setbacks. But when you let doubt creep in, when you absorb other people's opinions too quickly, your path narrows. Single men have an advantage here. With fewer competing voices at home, they can focus on strengthening their internal dialogue. Faith, real faith in your goals, your worth, your direction, becomes a force multiplier. A man who believes in himself completely will withstand criticism, obstacles, even failure. His belief becomes his compass and his anchor. And that belief? It's easier to cultivate in solitude when your mind is your own. 6. Experience as currency. Life isn't measured in time alone. It's measured in experience. Every joy, every failure, every heartbreak carries value, but only if you recognize it. Singlehood gives you time and space to process your experiences, to extract their meaning, to convert them into wisdom. Married life often demands fast decisions, compromises, shared priorities. It's easy to skip the reflection process entirely, but the single man can sit in silence and ask, what did I learn from this? How did this shape me? What value can I take forward? Experience is a currency not good or bad in itself, but rich in potential if you learn from it. If you judge experiences harshly, calling them failures, mistakes, regrets, you lose their value. But if you see them as lessons, as investments in wisdom, they become assets you carry forward. This mindset, treating experience as currency, empowers you to build a future that's not dictated by the past, but informed by it. In singlehood, there's no filter on this process, no negotiation about what matters. You get to own your entire story, and you get to decide what every chapter means. 7. The power of attention. Wherever you place attention, grows. It's simple, but profound. A man's life expands or contracts according to where his focus rests. Single men in particular have an advantage here. They have fewer competing voices around them, fewer distractions demanding their emotional bandwidth. This gives them full control over their mental environment. When a man appreciates the simple beauty around him, the quiet trees outside, the warmth of sunlight on his skin, the steady rhythm of his breath, beauty expands. His sense of peace grows. His awareness sharpens. But when he obsesses over negativity, frustrations at work, political arguments, resentments from the past, negativity consumes him. His thoughts narrow. His energy drains. This principle is always at work. But single men can harness it with greater freedom, greater precision. The absence of constant relational noise means they can consciously redirect their focus at any moment. Focus on gratitude, and gratitude grows. Focus on scarcity, and scarcity grows. This power of attention is subtle, but it shapes everything: mood, confidence, decisions, and ultimately, destiny. A man who learns to manage his focus, who chooses to invest it wisely, builds a life of richness, not because his circumstances change instantly, but because his perception shifts, and perception becomes reality. 8. Mastery over money and freedom. For many men, money is a source of stress, confusion, conflict. But singlehood offers an overlooked benefit, the chance to develop mastery over money, freely. No joint accounts, no divided goals, no compromises about spending or saving. In singlehood, every dollar reflects one person's priorities, yours. And this gives rise to something powerful. You can develop a relationship with money, not based on impulse, but on respect. It's not about hoarding dollars for their own sake. It's about understanding what money represents. Freedom, security, options. Money becomes a tool to serve your goals, not a source of friction. You learn to appreciate what money can provide. Peace of mind, breathing room, the ability to say no to work that drains your soul. When you fall in love with this kind of financial freedom, you treat your resources carefully. You stop wasting them on temporary thrills. You start investing them in long-term stability. You appreciate not just the number in your account, but what that number enables. And this appreciation becomes a feedback loop. You respect money, so it grows. As it grows, you respect it even more. Married men may struggle with competing financial expectations. Single men can choose their own financial path, one built on clarity, discipline, and self-trust. 9. Resilience through adversity. Negative circumstances are inevitable. Every man faces hardship, a job loss, a failed project, a betrayal, an unexpected turn. But what defines a man's future is not the event itself, it's how he interprets it. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp, taught this lesson clearly. Meaning comes from how we frame even the darkest experiences. Single men are uniquely positioned to learn this skill deeply. Without daily distractions from a partner or family, they have time to sit with pain, to process it honestly, to ask, what does this mean for me? What lesson is hidden here? What strength can I build from this? This mindset transforms adversity into fuel. Rather than being broken by difficulty, a man learns to bend. Rather than falling into bitterness, he cultivates clarity. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about reframing it. And singlehood provides the space, the solitude, where this reframing can happen fully. A single man who masters resilience becomes unshakable, not because his life is easy, but because his mind is trained. Hardship comes, but he remains steady, because he's learned that every dark chapter contains value if he's willing to find it. 10. Liberation from victimhood. Perhaps the greatest hidden benefit of singlehood is this: you become the sole author of your story. When you're single, no one else dictates your narrative. No one else sets the frame through which you see your life. You don't have to stay stuck in the role of the victim, blaming your past, your ex, your circumstances. You can choose at any moment to learn from every challenge, to take responsibility for your growth, to see hardship not as proof that you're unlucky, but as evidence that you're alive, evolving, capable. This freedom is precious. Married life often comes with shared narratives, shared grievances, shared disappointments, shared stories about how things went wrong. But singlehood is fertile ground, the ground where you can rewrite every chapter on your own terms. You can look back at a failed relationship and say, that didn't destroy me, it rebuilt me. You can look at a career setback and say, that wasn't failure, that was refinement. Singlehood gives you this gift, the chance to reclaim authorship, to stop waiting for someone to validate your journey, and to realize that the most powerful permission is the one you give yourself. In this way, singlehood is liberation, not isolation. A man who embraces this mindset steps fully into his power, not dependent, not defined by loss, but defined by courage, clarity, and choice. Single doesn't mean less than. Single doesn't mean not yet. Single doesn't mean unfinished. Single can mean freedom. It can mean reflection. It can mean growth. At your pace, on your terms. It's easy to absorb the message that life is waiting to begin, that fulfillment is postponed, that joy will arrive someday, after a ring, after a ceremony, after finding the one. But what if joy is here, now? What if this chapter, this single chapter, is not a pause, but a profound part of your becoming? Singlehood gives you space to breathe, space to build, space to heal. And the greatest freedom? the realization that you are already enough. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt that quiet sense of power, that clarity that comes from walking alone, come on quietly. I'm not waiting to start my life, I'm living it now. Oh. And remember, this isn't about rejecting relationships. It's about realizing that relationships, when they come, should add to a life that's already whole. Your time is now. You're not missing anything. You're discovering everything.